How's everybody doing? I haven't seen you guys since the new year. Well, happy 2024.
Yes. 2024. Brand new season. So many sequels. Season 7. If anyone's counting.
Wow.
It's gonna.
We are.
Yeah, I mean, what a year 2023 was, right? So many things happened, so many movies, so many sequels, and it's gonna be a better year 2024. What do we think? I don't know. We're gonna get into that here later. But yeah, I haven't seen you guys in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I believe last time we left off, we were like, hey, you know what? Take some time, get caught up on some more big movies from 2023. So did you guys do that?
No. You know why?
I did.
Because I got sick again.
Yeah.
I got sick again.
Yeah.
You know how tired I am of being sick?
Yeah.
You could say I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah.
It's like the 5th time in the last month
like
that I
the
have been sick.
Cross Canadian ragweed song. Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And I'd already watched all of the new movies that were streaming 2 weeks ago when I was sick. And so the only thing I could watch was The Holdovers because that was the only new thing that was streaming. So no, I didn't get a chance to watch a ton. What about you guys?
I mean, I watched a good amount. I hammered through a lot of Christmas movies toward the end of the year there. It's funny, my Letterboxd Wrapped that came out this week said that my most watched niche genre was holiday films, and I was like, dang it! Christmas got me in the end there, making my most watched genre.
Throws off the algorithm.
I know. So that we'll see if we can fix that next year. But I tried to get some more of my big 2023 misses in. I didn't miss a ton throughout the year, thankfully, and none of them really impacted my final 5 that we'll talk about later in the show. But there's been some good catching up on some things. I've been catching up on a lot of TV. I've watched the Monarch show on Apple TV Plus about Godzilla. That was cool. That was really cool.
I wanted to see that. It looks good.
I've also started. I started the Percy Jackson series on Disney Plus just for kicks and grins.
With rated R superstar Adam Copeland.
That's right. Now, did you read the books?
No.
I did not read the
books. Did you, Josh?
Yeah.
No.
Edgy Adam.
Huh?
Nothing.
Edgy Adam.
So, and it's also got, everyone.
Is this a wrestling thing?
It's got of course
okay.
not. It's got a Gen Z's favorite musical producer, Lin-Manuel Miranda, in it too. I'm sure is that going well? Have you enjoying yourself?
It's pretty good. I mean, it's only 4 episodes are out, and I've watched 3, so it's pretty good. I mean, we'll see if it has the juice to last. But I've heard a lot about the Percy Jackson series. I did see the original movie that came out several years back when they tried to make it a movie franchise. And I remember thinking that movie was pretty good, but I think they made a second, and then it never really went anywhere. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes. I think book series can do better in a serialized TV form. So we'll see.
Such was the case for many of the Harry Potter /
Well, and we'll
the
see
Harry
one
Potter
day.
clones.
They announced that Harry Potter TV show, like last year, that will come to fruition in the next 50 years.
Or maybe
we'll see
more,
how that
perhaps.
works.
Yeah.
What about you, David? Did you catch up on much?
If I had a dime for every new movie I watched during this week, I would have 0 dimes. It was a very uneventful time period for me. Set so many aside in my queue. May, December, Maestro. No Hard Feelings. I was going to catch up on so much. Didn't do squat. You know what I watched? The Lion King for the 80th time. But like you said, Josh, I don't know if any of them would have really impacted my top 5 as it was, my final score. I really want to catch up on a lot of movies, though. Everybody has told me 2 movies that have really stood out over these last few months are Poor Things and Past Lives. These are 2 movies that I've heard a lot about. I really want to try to check out either of them if I can. Killers of the Flower Moon finally drops for no extra charge on January 12th. So somewhere along the way, I will try to find a day to myself to try to watch the Killers of the Flower Moon, which I know was highly rated for both of you. So I look forward to maybe catching up on that. But I just enjoyed my last week. I watched 39 films in 2023, which is better
Nice.
than 2022. And so I feel pretty good about that. 20 films from 2023, I should say. Watched about 100 movies overall. Many thanks to so many sequels. So that's my recap.
We have that effect on people. We make them watch movies.
We do. Now, David, you've been doing a very fun thing for this show the past year or so.
Fun for me.
Which is you have jumped in on the Spotify Wrapped craze. Everybody's wrapping things this year. You know, I got a Wrapped a couple weeks ago from Walmart Plus. I don't need to know
This
that.
is what they're doing. They're collecting all our data, and then they're, to avoid the fact that they're collecting and selling all our data, they're really like, oh, look, here's your data
Well,
for
see,
you.
that's the thing.
I see
You're
what you're doing.
gamifying
I like it.
Yeah.
but
Well, that's the dirty secret.
I like it.
We all
but
want
still.
the data. We want we hunger for it so much. We all want a Wrapped for everything. So David made us a Wrapped for us, right?
Yeah, it's true. I've often said that one of the things I kind of hope for, like if there is, in heaven, is that there's like a stats sheet where I can go and I can see like how far I
Yes,
walked.
everybody
much
wants
like
a heads-up display with
know.
all their...
Just want to know what I've done.
Exactly.
How many times did I really watch The Lion King? So
What do you
yeah,
got-
so
what
many
do you got
sequels.
for us this year?
So many sequels wrapped. So we have officially watched 251 movies now for this channel. Our 250th milestone was A Christmas Story, and then we added one more with the holiday. The 2020s is almost our most popular decade. We're really moving our way into that sector. Right now, you guys might be able to guess, but the 2010s are our most popular decade so far, with 68 films. 2020s just 4 behind. This year, the box office was up. It was a big year at the box office. Barbie dominated, number 1 movie. Super Mario Brothers, the movie, number 2. And Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, number 3, domestically. Worldwide, that number is a little bit different. I think, Garrett, you posted a thing earlier about how top 3 movies of the year are not sequels or remakes or so Oppenheimer. That's the number 3 movie worldwide. And that's a pretty big deal. Pretty interesting deal. First time since the early 2000s that's happened. But so Barbie, Super Mario Brothers, and Spider-Verse are your top 3 here in the U.S. Here's a little fun fact. We reviewed here on this channel 8 of the top 10 movies at the box office this year. So if you're interested in any of those, you can check out our feed. What did
we miss? What 2 did we miss?
Domestically, we missed Sound of Freedom and Taylor Swift.
Well, that movie's a
Eras
lie. Oh, no. I'm not going to get into that.
Tour. and
Josh reviewed Eras Tour for us.
technically, Josh did a little brief review of Eras Tour.
I did review the Eras Tour, so it counts.
We'll count it. I don't know what episode was that in, Josh. Do you remember?
I don't know,
was
but I
it,
think she made it in the title that week, so it's fine.
She
For
did.
SEO
It might
purposes.
be at least. I think we also talked
You
about
gotta
The
put
Exorcist.
Taylor Swift in the title. Come on.
Come on. And so, globally, though, Fast X was the number 5 movie worldwide. We did not review Fast X. And what was the other one? Oh,
Good.
I guess we did 9 of the top. We did 9 of the top 10 worldwide. So there you go. We just missed Fast X on that front. The highest movie we reviewed in terms of box office gross was Barbie. The lowest reviewed movie that we talked about was 65.
Good
So
stacks.
covered both ends of the spectrum there. We reviewed a lot of movies this year. 40 films for So Many Sequels, specifically, like titled reviews. The average score for a movie reviewed by So Many Sequels is 3.4. That's the if you take all the movies we watched, 3.4. So I think we're doing pretty well. We had a couple of really highly regarded movies drag that number up. I'll get into. I also took down you guys' top scores, but we're going to talk about your top scores, top rated movies here in just a little while. So I'll just give you some of your lowest rated. Garrett's lowest rated movie of the year was Reindeer Games at 0.5.
Oh.
Followed by Little Fockers at 1, and then Bedazzled at 1.5.
Oh, where the heck did I put Murder Mystery 2? That should be lower.
Well, so this is in terms of movies we reviewed. I'll say in terms of movies we reviewed.
Fair.
So you may have reviewed personal outside of this these boxes. You may have reviewed some other movies lower. Josh, similarly, Reindeer Games, Little Fockers, and 65 were your lowest rated movies of the year. And for me, my lowest rated movie of the year was Maniac. I rated that 1 star. And I also rated Reindeer Games pretty low as well. Here is a one more or 2 more little things. So Letterboxd game, I won again. Trophy is right here. Got to mention it.
2-time champ.
2-time champ. 2-time.
Reigning and defending.
And still. We added a little new novelty this year, the direct hit feature, which is if you get direct hit, you get 2 points for that particular week. It was not a great addition for Garrett as he only had 1 direct hit. Josh, you had the most direct hits with 4. I had 3. Andrew also had 1, but Andrew only reviewed 1 movie this year with us, so in terms of percentage, Andrew
Didn't do me any good.
did really well there.
Don't give Andrew credit.
Here's another little thing. Our most watched actor was Brendan Fraser.
Well, that makes sense.
Of course, we
Brendan
dedicated
Fraser.
we dedicated a whole month to him, which you can go and listen to those reviews. Next up would be Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro. We gave them 3 movies each. Our most viewed female actress was a tie between Neve Campbell and I'm not going to mess her name up. Ayo.
Berry.
Yeah, there you go. As well as Cameron Diaz and Ariana Greenblatt. I think that's her name. So this is one of my. I think this is my favorite. My favorite stat. Directors. Our most viewed director was Jay Roach. Do you know who Jay Roach is?
I know who Jay
Not right
Roach
off the top of
is.
my
He's the
head.
guy that directed Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers. So that's our.
Well, sure. That makes sense.
Other than that, we didn't repeat any other directors, and we didn't for most of the year. I will say this is this is something I'm a little bit proud of, and this is my last stat for us. But we had a lot of first-time views for some well-known directors. We watched our first Ron Howard movie this year. We watched our first Wes Craven movie this year. We watched our first Kubrick movie for this podcast this year. We watched our first James Cameron, our first Greta Gerwig. We watched our first Nancy Myers and Rob
the more
Marshall.
you're talking, the more embarrassed I'm getting. Stop telling people it's
And
our
our-
first time doing these amazing directors.
And Harold Ramis. That's the last one. But for this podcast, those are some firsts.
Hey, those early seasons, we were doing something totally different.
It's true. We were actually, that's the thing is the first years we were doing a lot of repeat directors. Like this year we had our 5th Spielberg film. We had our 5th Nolan film. We had our 3rd Macquarie movie. So we've done a lot of directors, prominent directors before, but some of the best directors haven't done sequels. So in the years when we were doing mostly sequels, we didn't do a Ron Howard movie because he's never directed a sequel to my knowledge, I don't think. And same with Nancy Myers. She's never directed a sequel before, or a franchise. So that's why we didn't cover them early on. But I'm so excited. This last year we watched a lot of new movies and a lot of great old movies, and we're going to talk about some of our top movies right now.
That's right, yeah. Before we do, though, be sure you subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't done that yet. So many sequels on YouTube. You can get clips from the show there as well as full episodes that you can listen to as podcasts or watch as the full episode there on your TV or your phone as God intended. So go do that, youtube.com/so-many-sequels, or again, just search in the YouTube app. I don't know who uses. Do people really use URLs for YouTube anymore? I don't know. I don't think they do.
No, they open the app and they search.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah, so many sequels in your YouTube app. We'll see you there. Okay, let's get into our top 20, not top 20, our top 2023 movies. It's going to be 5. We doing something a little different this year. So in the past, we would each bring our individual top lists to the show. This year, though, we decided to do a little work beforehand. I know, it's crazy. We planned some of the show a little bit. We took
put
our
effort
lists.
We decided not to try to surprise each other this year.
Exactly, because when we surprise each other, we just, I don't know, the show could have been better, is what is how I feel. If we don't surprise each other, it could just be a better show. Yep. So that's what we did. We took each of our lists, put them all together, worked some magic, twisted some numbers, and came out with our own so many sequels ranking our top 5 movies of the year. And then after that, we'll talk about some of our individual honorable mentions along the way. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Our number 5 movie, I'm a little surprised by this one. I'm a little surprised that it made the list even, because it's a late entry into 2023. And I just didn't know if all 3 of us would get a chance to see it. But that movie is The Holdovers. Made it into our top 5 of the year at number 5. This is a movie starring Paul Giamatti as a curmudgeonly instructor at a New England prep school who is forced to remain on campus during Christmas break to babysit the handful of students with nowhere to go. Eventually, he forms an unlikely bond with one of them, a damaged, brainy troublemaker, and with the school's head cook who has just lost a son in Vietnam. It's a very small story, but it's very big in emotion, I thought. So, Garrett, I feel like you ranked it highest on your list, if I'm not mistaken. So why don't you start with why this is one of your favorites of the year?
You know, it's a small story, you're right, but a lot of times those small stories have a lot of personal love that go into them, right? And this is a movie that you can really feel was purposeful in casting, purposeful in storytelling. Every character had an arc, a start, and a finish. Every single character had a balance of where you just hated them and you thought they were just a jerk. Well, not everybody, but most of them. And then they would have these moments where it was like, oh my God, what a wonderful human being you are. And it really just showed the complexity of human nature through each character. And like the storytelling was perfect. Paul Giamatti, his performance was amazing. I mean, he is a master at taking a character and who is so unlikable but lovable. And I don't know how he does it, but he just can. He can make you hate someone and love them and show the full roundedness of a human. And he's such a good actor. And this performance was written for him. Alexander Payne was like, this is written for Paul Giamatti. And so they know each other well. They've worked together before. And it just feels like everybody just hit a home run on this movie. I mean, it is solid from top to bottom, and the soundtrack's a banger. So, and the way that it looks, it's a period piece that takes place in the 70s or something like that. I can't remember the exact time frame, but it looks like it was made from that time frame. We watched The Shining earlier this year, and it gave me that aesthetic. And so it set the tone. It took me to where they wanted to, and it really just delivered in every aspect. It was beautiful.
David,
100%.
Why did you pick, or why did you choose to rank this as one of your favorites of the year?
I agree with everything Garrett said, and I'll add that I think that it really, really was aided by the fact that it was set in 1970. Like it gave it almost a sense of timelessness. Like it didn't feel like you were watching it. It was almost like it feels like it could have came out at any time in the last 30 years. Like nothing about it forced it into any sort of like, oh, in 10 years this is gonna be really dated. Like it purposefully set itself in a way that just makes it feel like an old story to begin with, and it gets you in a comfort zone for that. J. Garrett, I couldn't agree more. Giamatti was great in this. I posted this on Threads, and it seemed to be a popular sentiment. There are 2 actors that I think do On My Last Nerve really well, and that's Giamatti and J.K. Simmons. Like both of them just totally sell. I am about done with this conversation, and that was one of my favorite parts. Was just Giamatti's interaction. He was both stern and just a jerk, and like the teacher you totally didn't want, but there was that element of like there's a real person there that he knows he can't show the kids because they'll just take advantage of him, and he has a sense of nurturing, but he just doesn't use it, And I gotta say, spoiler alert, midway through the movie, he starts developing a relationship with one of the kids. I was really surprised at how they pulled that off. I guess, again, spoiler alert here for The Holdovers, but the rest of the kids leave. And I was like, I was just getting attached to all these kids, and now they're gone. All right, whatever. So I never knew necessarily where it was going next. Every scene feels like a step forward, even if it's a small step forward. So yeah, it was a great movie. I kind of wish we had done it for our So Many Santas, even though it's not like a Santa Claus type movie. But it is very, like, the Christmas element is definitely felt.
Yeah, I think this could be a So Many Santas movie, and maybe it will someday. I don't know. We could devote a whole episode to it, because I definitely think it's a Christmas movie. Even the poster I'm looking at here on Letterboxd, I like it a lot. It's a good poster of the three main characters kind of standing just outside of a gigantic shattered Christmas ornament. Very funny. Yeah, this movie has a lot going for it in the characters. It kind of took me by surprise when I saw it. It's David, you were given spoiler alerts. It's not really too spoilery to say that this boy gets left alone at the school. That's kind of part of the premise, is him having to make it through Christmas break alone, but only with his professor, who sucks, and the head cook, who he just doesn't know. So I like that. But I also really like the aspect of the head cook. Divine Joy Randolph played her, and she brings this like motherly tenderness to the movie that is not just for the students but for Paul Giamatti as well, and that's what I really liked about her. There's a couple times where she, more or less verbally knocks him up the head and is like, what are you doing, man? What's wrong with you? So I love that. I love how Paul Giamatti gets to learn from her and from the young boy, and I don't know. It's one of those movies where you don't know if everybody leaves changed at the end, but you hope so, at least. You could see where this was a meaningful Christmas for them. So I thought it was really great. I gave it 4 stars. So what'd you guys give it? We'll talk about personal ratings later.
I also give it 4 stars.
I gave it a 4.5 star, and if I remember correctly, the reason I did it is in my Letterboxd review is because of that amazing snow globe of Santa looking over baby Jesus. Sealed that half star for me.
Nice. Yeah, I said that this movie felt like the tear-soaked shoulder of a warm hug.
Yeah, collectively we rated this a 4.1 based on our individual ratings. Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
Well, that's number 5.
I think worthy of having it here.
Let's move on to number.
Okay, number 4.
Oh yes, let's move on to number 4, which is our first and only documentary in the list this year. This is still a Michael J. Fox movie. Yeah. Garrett,
Yeah. So
again, I think I got to start with you, because you rated this your top movie of the year. I'm spoiling what you're going to say later, but what can I do?
I know. Well, I just have good taste in movies, apparently.
That you do.
So, yeah, this
is that Blank Man. We'll talk about that later.
Well, we'll talk about that's a movie for another day. But still, a Michael J. Fox movie. I know. We, this movie was so unexpected for me. I had never seen a documentary done this way. And documentaries, a lot of times it's a subject that you're interested in. And obviously Michael J. Fox, somebody I'm super interested in. And so when this dropped, it was something I was looking forward to. But then when I watched it, it was something I can't even explain it. I mean, it was like they took a movie of his life. They made a movie of Michael J. Fox, but into a documentary, but into a movie. It's so hard to explain without having seen it. But then when you get into the documentary pieces and he's talking and you go back and you see all of those things and he's telling his story of Parkinson's and how he would hide it in certain ways, but then they point it out in all of these shows that you see in Back to the Future, in Spin City, and Teen Wolf, all of these different things, and you're like, oh my God, this guy, and just him as a person. And how he deals with this and how he shares his story and just goes about it. It's really inspiring. And yeah, it was, as a documentary, something I'd never seen before. So that's why it's such high marks for me.
David, what'd you think?
Yeah, this was in all of our top 10s. Josh and I both had it at 7, and Garrett, you had it at 1, which really elevated it into our composite top 5. Like you said, I mean, they interstitch both clips from his films, a few like dramatization elements just to kind of like fill in a few gaps, and then just, Michael J. Fox, an incredible storyteller. And like you're hanging on his every word because like he was a hero of cinema for a long time, and then he became something bigger than that when he announced his diagnosis. And so like it's just a really really well done documentary that I think hangs with you, and by the end like you feel you're torn between, you don't want to feel bad for him because you're so on his side about what he's going through, but at the same time you kind of can't help but also be like, man, you know, like there's a part of you that's like, I wish I could be as tough as Michael J. Fox. So
Yeah.
it was a great movie, and I rate it highly.
I watched this movie on a plane, which is not always the best way to watch a movie, but I have some very close to my heart experiences watching movies on planes, and one of those is this one. I just love Michael J. Fox, you know, and so seeing so much of his personality and humor in this movie is what sold it for me. You see how he takes on having Parkinson's with stride, with a sense of humor, and also with this, like, you can't beat me down attitude that I just love. Like, he has moments of weakness on display in the movie where he falls or stumbles or whatever, and he's like, whatever, I don't care. Sometimes he cracks jokes at his expense for it, and it's just great to see him pushing through it after being diagnosed so young. That's the thing with him, is his diagnosis was so young at such a peak point in his career, and you really see that unfold through those interstitials that you guys talked about that I can't recommend enough. And this movie is also it was just announced on the short list for best documentary at the Oscars this year, so we will see if Still makes it into the final nominations at the end of the month, but that'll be exciting. So
Yeah.
Still, a Michael J. Fox movie, is our number 4 movie of the year. I believe you can find that on Apple TV Plus.
I think so.
So go check that out if you haven't yet. It's potentially an Oscar contender, so go check that out.
Yeah, I wish that it, I felt like it could win, but I just can't imagine them giving it to this. But it'd be great if they did. That'd be really exciting. But anyway,
I have a feeling we might see somebody named John Baptiste accepting an Oscar this year for a movie, but that's for another thing. That's also to talk about later. Okay, number 3, we're getting into the top of the top now. This is one of the half of the big double feature of the year, the big Barbenheimer summer event. Which one did we pick to rank over the other? Well, number 3 is Oppenheimer. So do with that what you will.
Controversial.
Will Barbie make the list? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But Oppenheimer is at number 3. This was the big Christopher Nolan biopic of Robert Oppenheimer, the creator of the atomic bomb. Huge movie in scope, in story, in cast list. What did you guys think of Oppenheimer? Did we go see that together? Was this a Barbenheimer event we did? I don't remember anymore.
We did not go together. I don't know if we ever posted the video of our Oppenheimer review, but we did review it together, and I think we had some good fun with it. Garrett, I'm interested in what you had to say, because I'm pretty sure you missed. I think you missed our Barbie review, but you were there for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember this movie well. I only saw it the one time in theaters, but from my recollection, obviously, it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and so it is incredibly well made. And it is long, but it didn't feel long. At every point in turn, I was on the edge of my seat into this story. I mean, again, what it is and the story it tells, and the moment in time and the moment in history and everything that goes into it was just poured into this. And you can tell that it was a passion project. And, all of us were waiting for the bomb to go off, how they did it, how they could show it. Say what you will about showing the full spectrum of the repercussions of this. That I think is a piece that wasn't necessarily talked about a ton, that could have been added to it just for full history context. But I think that they did a really good job of showing the full history of it. And if you're interested in it, I feel like it's a very earnest telling of the story. So it was a really great movie. I have nothing bad to say about it. It's just been so long since I've seen it.
David?
Same. I have it on Blu-ray in there
Yeah,
in my
same.
Same. It's on my shelf over there. I got it for Christmas. Haven't rewatched it yet, but it was it was a Christopher Nolan release. And if there's a director today who has a sort of name recognition, if there's a Spielberg of his day, it's Christopher Nolan. He is his own franchise. He can put out whatever he wants, and he's got a dedicated fan base that's going to come out. It's not my favorite Nolan movie. However, it was my, I believe, it was my third favorite movie of the year. Like it was an overpowering experience. This movie more so than other Nolan films. It just over time just enveloped. You just feel like you're engulfed in it with how close everything feels. There's a lot of just heavy close-ups. That's kind of doesn't matter, but it was it's kind of hard to talk about in some ways. But what I appreciated about it was sort of, he dropped the subtitle of Oppenheimer's biopic, right, which was American Prometheus. But there is a Promethean story here of this group of people led by Oppenheimer is tasked with building an atomic bomb before the Nazis, which is something I think a lot of people forget about in the context of history. Is America didn't build a bomb just for the sake of building a bomb to use on Japan. They're trying to beat the Nazis to this thing, right? And he did that, and the United States government over time used Oppenheimer's left-leaning affiliations to demonize him, to take things out on him, which is the part of that Prometheus story of he gives us fire and then we turn on him. He gives us the thing that we asked for, the thing that would make us better, and now we're going to make him the bad guy. We're going to turn on him. It's very it's very similar to other stories that Nolan has told in his time, but this might be the most prolific real-world example of this situation. So I could see a lot of people taking away those things. The performances were great. Robert Downey Jr. was amazing in it. Obviously, Cillian Murphy's great. I really have high hopes for Emily Blunt, that she might get Best Supporting Actress. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, I really liked it. This was our collectively highest rated movie. Now I know what you're thinking, guys, if you rated it the highest, why is it number 3? Well, we actually ranked other movies higher despite the high rating. Between the three of us, it's a 4.66, which is pretty good. So
I thought it was really cool when they did a lot of big booms and there was colorful stuff on the screen.
There was only one big boom.
Well, there was several big booms, but there was one big boom. And I like that a lot. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff going on in Oppenheimer effects-wise that I liked a lot. And ultimately, I noted this in my Letterboxd review when I saw it first over the summer. It's a movie that's over 3 hours long. I always need a bathroom break in movies, and I didn't get up in that one. I did not go to the bathroom. So that is a testament to the movie. And also, again, I just want to repeat the size of the cast. It's basically the Nolan cinematic universe all combined into one huge film. So Oppenheimer, if you somehow missed that one, that's our third favorite movie of 2023. Number 2.
It's also, I want to say it's also a fan of the show, Mike Brower's favorite movie of the year.
Oh, we do want to shout out Mike then. Yes, we have a Discord that you can join. Just check out our Patreon. There's so many sequels there. You can get the link at somanysequels.com. You can join our Discord, and we asked everyone there to share their top movies of the year, and Mike is one of the ones who shared those. So thank you, Mike, for
Mike may be the one that shared.
Well,
yeah. So he also had Oppenheimer. He also had The Holdovers was high on his list as well. So
cool. Well,
shout out to
Oppenheimer
Mikey B.
was a 5-star movie for me. I don't know about you.
It was a 4.5 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Garrett was also 4.5.
Yeah, also 4.5. I had to check.
Well, number 2, our penultimate favorite movie of the year is The Other Side of Barbenheimer. It is Barbie, Greta Gerwig's ode to the great American Girl doll, or not the American Girl doll, but the American Girl doll, Barbie.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well
Barbie. of course, came out over the summer to huge fanfare with Margot Robbie as Barbie, Ken, played by Ryan Gosling. What do we have to say? What's left to say about Barbie? I love the movie. I'm not surprised it's at number 2 at the top of our list.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
same.
what can you say about Barbie? Oh, I was gonna say that you can't say about chocolate cake. Sorry, go ahead, Garrett.
No. Well, I want to hear what you can't say about Barbie that you can't say about chocolate cake. I'm intrigued by this.
It can't come on a plate. Anyway, I don't know. Well, that's a great game for another day. Is what can't you say about chocolate cake? But no, Garrett, what'd you think? Because you weren't on our show. We had to pull in the reserves. We had to pull in my wife Nikki to review Barbie with us. So what did you think?
Oh, Barbie was a blast and a half, man. I mean, like, it's a good time. It's a good message. Greta Gerwig came in and she killed the game. I mean, she delivered on what she needed, I think there's, for me, I don't necessarily liked the Mattel aspect of it. I didn't think it was super needed. I had some critiques on that. I can't exactly remember what it was. But outside of that, the second time I saw it, that was the first time I saw it. And then the second time I saw it, I was like, this is so much fun and enjoyable. And you get the message that they're trying to tell you. And then at the end for the connection between the mother and the daughter for that kind of feeling. And then the slideshow that they show, it really hits you and you feel it, whether you don't have to be a daughter or a mother to feel that feeling of love for your child, for your parent, for whatever. And so this movie just was, I think it really delivered on the hype. And sometimes it's difficult to do that. I mean, the marketing machine that was Barbie really could have missed. And boy, that would have been tragic. And so for them to have not only met the hype, but maybe surpassed it even and delivered on something that was, I don't know if when people saw there was a Barbie movie come out, if people expected this. And so I think that it just really blew everything away. And it's pretty close to a 5-star movie.
Yeah, I think that there were people who were expecting it to be like full of like cringy memes that they could get out of it, a Morbius situation. But combination of the marketing from Warner Brothers for Barbie and then the fan marketing of Barbenheimer really built this thing up into a must-see event, right? And luckily the film itself really delivers. We might get some shade for putting it ahead of Oppenheimer, but I think that the two movies are they're sibling films in my head. They're really great. Like you said, a lot of people talk about the America Ferrera speech in that movie as sort of this big moment that you're supposed to take something away from, and I think it is. But I think the bigger moment is, like you said, the moment with Barbie and her mother, Rhea Perlman's character, is such an emotional way to drive that movie home, to take it where you actually maybe weren't even thinking it was going to go. It's hilarious, I mean, like you said, the Mattel stuff wouldn't have worked if it was anybody but Will Ferrell. He had me cracking up. Ryan Gosling, hilarious. Someone said that Ryan Gosling didn't disappear into the role of Ken, and I said that's because Ken disappeared into Ryan Gosling. It was he was hilarious. Don't know. I mean, I'd be interested to see how the award ceremony turns out in terms of that. But just a fantastic movie, funny, insightful. Like, I don't know what more you could ask for. And honestly, a perfect. I've never done something like Barbenheimer, but I did it that day. I went to the movies. I watched. I think I watched Oppenheimer first, and then I watched Barbie. And Barbie was a perfect chaser for Oppenheimer. I felt much. I felt also sad at the end of both movies, but happy sad.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What about you, Josh?
Barbie was great. I loved Barbie. I have nothing more to add on top of what we've said already. So let's move along here. What?
Yeah, our rankings there was 2, 4, 5. So it was right. It was all stacked together there for us.
Excellent.
And our rating of Barbie was a 4.5 overall. Sorry. Go ahead.
Let's get to the end of not the end of the show, but the end of the list here, and reveal our favorite movie collectively of 2023 is insert rim shot here, or not rim shot. That's for jokes. Drum rolls. Insert drum roll here is going to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. A superhero movie made it to the top of our list. I am both surprised and not. Both surprised and not.
Yeah.
How did this happen, fellas?
This was a
We've been historically fans of superhero movies, but not in the past year or so. We've been pretty harsh on them.
Well, listen, that's because they lost their way. The hero's journey, and they are They are on the fallen side of their journey.
They need to get to the
superhero
guys.
movies. Yeah, and you know what? It's because these movies still tell a story. They still have a purpose. They're not just mindless fighting, villain, hero, punch, 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 Marvel, Marvel, Marvel. Whoa, that's not what we're doing here. We're telling something bigger. And this movie was so big, man. It was almost too big. It was a chaotic fever dream that you were able to follow somehow, and that was a well done storytelling. If you haven't seen the movie, this probably doesn't make sense, but you should go watch it and then it will make sense. But it's just all over the place. And then I didn't expect the ending, and I was almost so angry I threw something, but like in a good way, because that's the best way to end something like that and be like speechless. So this movie worthy of being our number one, I think.
Spider-Verse it's got a freshness to it. It's got a maturity to it. That even though it's in this world of animation, even though it's in this world of the same superheroes you've seen a bunch of times in some ways, like there's just a freshness to it. I think a big part of that is, Lord and Miller, who have given us a lot of great movies like Mitchell vs. the Machines, the Lego Movie. They've given us a lot over the last few years, and they are proving to be great writers and producers of animated films. Miles as a character is elevating to a place where people recognize Miles Morales as Spider-Man, as a main character in these movies, and that's just great. This movie got to do a little bit of both. It got to tell a great story and also do some fan service, because a lot of it is sold on like, oh, multiple Spider-Mans. There's this whole world of all these Spider-Mans pointing at each other, right? But that's deep into the movie. That's like a pretty good jump into the movie before we really get to that point. The other versions of Spider-Man that you get to see are so interesting that even though you get to see them for like 5 seconds, you get to see, Cowboy Spider-Man or Peter Parked Car or Lego Spider-Man or whatever it is. It's just enough that you make you go, wow, that's actually kind of cool. Like I like the idea of that. The character, like the complexity of all of it gets to this thing of like on a meta level, you're all like Spider-Man is like trying to be, he's trying to find a way to be different. The world is the society is telling him, look, this is how your story goes. It's how all of our stories go. And if you don't let that happen, then you're not really Spider-Man. And he's like, but I am Spider-Man, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to fix the things I want to fix, right? So it's a really, really interesting movie. My wife talked about it, and she likes it, but honestly what she loved the most was like the relationship between like Miles and his parents, or Miles and Gwen, and like those interpersonal relationships are so well developed that if anybody sees it and thinks, well, it's a kid's movie, it's a lot more than that.
It is very big. It's not what you'd expect from an animated movie for sure. I don't think. It's not what I would expect. But it does follow up to Into the Spider-Verse in that same kind of vein. I didn't think that they could top that one, but I honestly feel like they did with this one. And if the third one can stick the landing, then this will be the new definitive Spider-Man trilogy, in my opinion. I believe if the third movie sticks the landing, outranks Tobey, outranks Tom, outranks Andrew, Miles Morales is the new best movie Spider-Man. That's what we'll see. This was a 5-star movie for me.
Actually, you're right, and I was wrong. I know I don't say that often enough. I was wrong. This is actually our highest rated. It's a 4.8.
You've said every movie we've done is our highest rated. No one's listening to you no more,
I gave it a
David.
5. You gave it a 5. I think, Garrett, you gave it a 4.5.
Yeah, you don't get a 5-star when you're not a full movie.
Yeah, I
You're a
will
half
say so.
When you're a part 2.
I watched it in theaters, and there was anger at that. There was audible like what? And then if you saw it in theaters and hit that ending, not very long after that, you found out the movie got delayed because of the strike. So I don't actually know when it's supposed to come out now, but it was supposed to come out this March.
It was. I think it's gonna be a bit of a delay, but it'll be worth it. It's gonna be.
We'll see.
It's gonna be fine.
We'll see how that goes.
All right,
that is our collective top 5 of the year. The Holdovers, Still, Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Across the Spider-Verse. I thought we'd wrap up here by just quickly going through our individual top 5s. There's a couple movies in each of those that we didn't get to cover. So I'll go first. My rankings were 5, Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, at number 5. 4, I'll quickly say, was Killers of the Flower Moon, the Martin Scorsese film, set and shot in Oklahoma. It's very special to us for those reasons, obviously. But on top of that, I think it is a very strong movie, very strong storytelling about this important historical event that could have been told perhaps more authentically with a different voice. But I'm glad that we have this. That's what I'll say. And I think Lily Gladstone is a front runner for an Oscar. Oh, did anyone else want to just? I don't know. Okay. And then number 3, Oppenheimer. Number 2, Barbie. And number 1, my favorite movie of the year, surprised even me, is Poor Things, the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie starring Emma Stone. I was just captivated through this entire movie. It is so deeply weird and strange and creepy and hilarious, and I couldn't look away. So I adored Poor Things, and Emma Stone is amazing in it. Willem Dafoe is fantastic. I just really can't wait to see it again. It was so bizarre. That's my top 5.
There you go.
Nice. My 5 was Barbie, which we talked about. The Holdovers, which we talked about. My number 3 was one that we didn't talk about. It was American Symphony. It's a Netflix documentary, I believe produced by Barack Obama and Michelle Obama and their production company. Again, documentaries are a very personal subject. And, Josh, you and I were roommates, and we watched Colbert whenever he took over on the Late Show. And we had no idea who this band leader was, right? And all we could remember was hearing him going, in the background. And it was the best part of that show for so long because they couldn't find their footing. But he was the hype man. He was the laugh when they didn't get it, or if it fell off, he was like, oh! And it was great. And his positivity just oozed. And then for me, when he came out with his album, I listened to it and immediately was like, this right here is going to win them all. And I don't think people expected it. And then when it happened, I was like, I told y'all. And so for me, I have always loved John Baptiste. And so seeing his story, especially with his partner, and how everything just kind of came together, and the story that it told, it was just really beautiful. And so that's really why. Well done movie.
I'm excited to watch
number
that.
2, highly recommend.
Where can we find it?
It's on Netflix.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so American Symphony on Netflix. Number 2, Spider-Verse, and number 1 was Still.
Okay.
My top 5, a lot of similar things. My first unique one, and I kind of upped this one when I saw you guys, the lists you guys had. I was like, I want to talk about something different. That's the Iron Claw. This is the story of the Von Erichs, the Texas wrestling family. Truly depressing movie. Scared my wife off just giving her the rundown of what kind of happens. Solid performances from Efron, from what's the other guy's name? White, is that his name?
Jeremy Allen White. Jeremy
Allen White, and then the father, the actor playing the father, he's also really, really solid. I personally, if you read my review, had some withholdings about it. I know the story very well. They cut an entire brother out of it, and I understand the writer and director's reasoning, but that was kind of weird. But I still give it 4 stars. I still think it's worth the watch if you have any interest in the story. And it hypes me up for the potential for more of wrestling's darkest stories brought to cinema.
Let me tell you
Eddie
what.
Guerrero, I already saw.
Let me
Oh,
interject
yeah?
into this real quick just to say I have no desire to see this movie because it sounds entirely too sad for me to even want to deal with. But
Very sad. Very sad.
a friend of the show, Andrew, told me that he went and saw this movie unprepared. He didn't know who these people were, or what, if you, I'm just gonna say it didn't go well. Andrew was not prepared for the epic tragedy that is this movie. That really you just need to know anything about who it's about to understand why it would be a traumatic experience. I'm assuming, but yeah,
Maybe.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Did he like?
you know-
Did he like the movie?
I don't. I honestly, I think so, but I don't know. It seemed awfully depressing.
Yeah, it is, and maybe that was part of my problem too. Was since I know everything, or knew everything, and kind of had like some foreknowledge going in, I was like, okay, now come on, let's get to this thing, a little bit. But
Anyway,
yeah, I'll also say it was. I lost what I thought. Thinking about Andrew. falling
that's
asleep
okay. You
during
can
a
just
call
move
that
on to
caught
the
me
next one then.
Terrible Ric Flair impression in it. The actor said he wasn't trying to do an impression, but please try to do an impression of Ric Flair. What's the point? Anyway, my number 4 is Barbie, 3 is Oppie, 2 is Spidey, and number 1 was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm probably the only person in the world that'll have this in their number 1, and I don't care that other people might view if other people look down on it. I am one of the lone people that loves Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This stuck a landing for me, especially considering it had to deal with a lot of the aftermath of Avengers Endgame and Infinity War and James Gunn's sort of swan song in the MCU. He tied it all together. Movie made me cry, and it's one of the only 2 movies this year to make me cry. So I had to give it number 1 almost for that reason. Fantastic. Really enjoyed it. 5 stars. Nothing more to say.
All right. Well, let's put a bow on it then. That's the end of our 2023 best of episode. That's our favorite movies. Again, just to recap those for you, our top 5 movies of the year were The Holdovers, Still, Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Across the Spider-Verse. Will one of those win Best Picture at the Oscars? I don't know. We'll find out in March if our picks align with the Academies. Historically, it always does well, right? We
usually have a pretty
you know
good
what?
Oscar
Actually,
track
we don't do
record.
bad, but I was mostly kidding. So anyway, we've got a whole season of the show for you. A big 2024 coming up. Watch the feed for our most anticipated movies of 2024. That's going to be our next episode for you. We got lots of other themes and stuff coming up over the year. We're going to announce our first theme here in a few weeks for February, so keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, you can follow us online wherever you get social media: Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and Facebook. And of course, subscribe on YouTube. You can go to somanysequels.com and find all those links, as well as links to our past episodes. We'll see you all next time. Bye.